That jar of honey sitting in your kitchen? It took 2 million flower visits, 55,000 miles of flight, and the entire lives of thousands of bees to make. It all starts here, in a field of wildflowers, where the nectar hidden inside each bloom is roughly 70 to 80% water and loaded with complex sugars. Back at the hive, a scout bee performs the famous waggle dance, a figure-8 pattern that tells her sisters exactly where to find the best nectar sources. Guided by ultraviolet vision and scent, a forager bee lands on a flower and extends her proboscis, a long straw-like tongue, to siphon nectar from deep inside. She may visit 50 to 100 flowers on a single trip, filling a special organ called the honey stomach with up to 70 milligrams of nectar, nearly half her body weight. The honey stomach is completely separate from her digestive system, sealed off by a one-way valve called the proventriculus that keeps nectar isolated and undigested. But the magic starts before she even gets home. While flying, her glands secrete a powerful enzyme called invertase directly into the nectar, breaking sucrose into simpler sugars. She also adds glucose oxidase, which produces small amounts of hydrogen peroxide, a natural antibiotic that begins protecting the nectar from bacteria and fungi immediately. Back at the hive, the forager doesn't store the nectar herself. She regurgitates it mouth to mouth to a younger house bee in a process called trophallaxis. The house bee then chews the nectar for 20 to 30 minutes, repeatedly extending a droplet from her mandibles and pulling it back in, mixing in even more enzymes. This repetitive action isn't just mixing. Each exposure to the warm hive air, held at 93 degrees Fahrenheit, begins evaporating the water from that tiny nectar droplet. The partially processed nectar is then deposited in thin layers along the walls of hexagonal beeswax cells, maximizing surface area for the critical next step, mass evaporation. Worker bees line up at the cells and fan their wings furiously, creating an engineered airflow that pulls moisture out of the nectar and pushes humid air out of the hive. They fan tirelessly, even through the night, until the nectar drops from 80% water all the way down to just 17 or 18%. That's when it becomes honey. This creates a supersaturated sugar solution so dense it actually kills bacteria by sucking the water right out of their cells. Honey found in Egyptian tombs was still edible thousands of years later. Once the honey is ripe, young worker bees secrete tiny wax flakes from glands on their abdomens, chew them soft, and carefully seal each cell with an airtight beeswax cap. For the bees, those capped frames are winter survival, stored fuel to keep the colony alive at 93 degrees when snow covers the ground. For beekeepers, it's harvest time. The beekeeper puffs cool smoke into the hive to calm the bees. It masks their alarm pheromones and triggers them to gorge on honey, making them docile and lethargic. In the honey house, a heated knife slices off the wax cappings, revealing the glistening honey beneath. Then, the frames are loaded into a centrifugal extractor and spun at high speed. After straining, settling, and bottling, the journey is complete. 2 million flowers, 55,000 miles, thousands of tiny lives, all condensed into one perfect golden jar.